Today, we will be talking about the navigation component. It is a quite new thingy. Like if you remember from previous lesson, we were talking about the navigation between the activities. So this will be a bit different because this will be about the navigation within one activity. And I will, as usual, ask everyone to create a new project. It can be a simple empty activity. And I will also start sharing the screen. So I will first start with explaining a bit the fragments because while working with one activity, we will be like trying to switch the screens still somehow, and we will be doing that with usage of the fragments. You don't know the fragments yet. It is a bit similar as activities. It also have its own layout and also have some logic to work with that layout. It also had the life cycle as the activities, but it cannot live alone. So it actually lives within some activity. I can show you some example. So you can imagine what can be the fragments. I'm quite sure you all know, for example, activities like that, having this bottom bar, and you can actually switch between these by swiping or just clicking on the icon, but still you are in the same screen. It's just like fragments are switching within this activity. So I will show you how to do the navigation for these easily with the navigation component. I hope you already started the project. So first, what we have to do is the creation of the navigation graph. This can be done two ways. Okay, so I will just show like the easier way first.
Okay.
Because we will be adding new stuff to our resources to the directory which is not here. And we can use this resource manager, which is on the left side for that. And here you can choose what is the type of the resource. And we will go for creation of the navigation resource. And here we can go for add resource to the module and tap the navigation resource file. So I will call it first navigation, whatever. And add the dependencies also, because this navigation also needs the dependencies. So now we have the navigation graph, and we can add some fragments here to navigate between them. So I will do it by adding a new destination here, and I will create a new destination. Let's go for basic blank fragments. Go next, and I will call it first fragment and press finish. And now we can see our first fragment appeared. I will also add the second one so we can create a graph from it. So now we have two fragments. You can see while clicking here on project that also these fragments appeared here with their own layouts here. So we can do different stuff. And now we can do the connections in this XML graph. So I can connect those fragments together to visualize like what can be the navigation between them. So you can see I connected it in the both sides, there and back again. And of course, for both objects and the connections, you can see the attributes. So we have the IDs for that. We can send some arguments, and we have the actions, which are actually the connections. So now we have some like simple graph which we can use. And to use this graph, we have to connect it to our activity first. So I will go now for the documentation of that. So we can go to Android developers and search for the navigation component, and then a bit down here, you can see how our navigation graph can be attached to the activity. So I will copy this part here and go to our layout for the activity. And I will, of course, I can delete this text view here, and I can replace it with our fragment, our navigation graph. Our navigation graph has a different name, so it's a first navigation. By the way, you can also see that it's constrained layout, so it's attached for all the sites here, stuff we already learned. So now I connected our navigation component. So if I will build the application, we should see already the first of our fragments, the one which has the home button, home icon here. Of course, this can be changed. There are like multiple actions which can be done. And we are already installing. And we can see here is our first fragment. Of course, we can do some stuff to differentiate these fragments. So I could, for example, go to the layout of these fragments and, for example, change this string so we can see which is which. So this will be first fragment. And the second will be the second fragment. But now we just connected this graph, but we are not actually switching the fragments. So we have to implement that. And for this, I will go to our first fragment, to the class. And here we just care about, I can hide this part and this part. And we just care about the onCreate view. Here we are attaching the layout to our fragment. So I will first store this view so we can work with it and return it later. And meanwhile, we can work with it. So I will first create in our fragment some button so we can attach the action to it. I will add some ID to it. Go to second fragment and some text. To second fragment. Now we have the button to work with. So first I will find, first I will say what is the type, which is the button. And then by ID, I will find our button, which had the ID go to second fragment. So now I have the button and I can set the on-click listener to it. So now I will try to find our navigation controller and I will simply navigate somewhere. For that navigation, we are using the IDs, and you can see right away that Android Studio is helping with that, proposing already the actions from the navigation graph. So I will go for the first fragment to second fragment connection. And that's actually it. So now if I will build the project, you can see we are in the first fragment, which has the button. And if I click on it, I'm automatically redirected to the second fragment. So of course, we can do similar thing also in our second fragment. So I will quickly do the same. I will just copy this button from the first fragment and paste it to the second fragment and change the ID. So we are going to first fragment. And the same way, I will copy our logic here. And go to the second fragment. Again, we don't need this onCreate and both company and object. And I will again store the view and return it later. And here I will paste the same code as we did in the first fragment, and again change just the IDs and the action. So here I have go to first fragment ID, and the action will be from the second fragment to first fragment. So now if I build it, we are installing. And we are here. So now we can switch from the first to the second and back. And that's actually everything what I wanted to show you. If you want to play with this project more, you can, for example, play with the layouts here for the fragments, because you could see that I added the text view and also the buttons, but this layout is not good for the positioning really. So if you change this to the constraint layout, you can do like some nicer arrangement to see the both, for example, or even change some text styles to have the text larger and stuff like that. So, or even add some extra fragments to the graph to learn more about what I was describing today. So that is all from my